Hello and good evening. Today with you, International Master Georgi Sibashvili and Grandmaster Arkady Naiditsch. That's me. Georgi, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Excited for today's stream, actually. I do believe a lot of people will tune in this time.
Okay, Georgi, let's see if your prediction is correct. Today's stream, it's gonna be all about mating in one move. We start with simple mates and slowly we will be advancing. So of course it's not a stream for a club level player or for higher, but it is a nice stream for an average player. Sometimes it's not that easy to give actually mate in one move. So we start with the very basics and we will advance. All right, let's go. So let's start straight from the position number one. We have a lot of positions for today. So position number one, we have just three pieces on the board. We have the king, opponent's king, and we have the rook. Georgi, tell us some basic thoughts how to look for a mate. What should be the
Okay,
main focus of attention?
so mate is getting delivered to our opponent's king. That's the major thing in chess, how to win the game. And whenever, especially, you see that your opponent struggles to find the move for the king. So, for example, in this specific scenario, you just need to try to checkmate the enemy's king, right? How many moves does it have? Can go on these three squares in front of it, which king does a great control of. So we have it covered. I'll just highlight it with the squares, will be easier. So the only thing the king can do right now is going either on h8 or f8. We need to cover these squares plus deliver check at the same time, so it's going to be easier task. Whenever you see these kings are looking at each other and they stand in front of each other, is the best time to strike and include the check for the checkmate as well.
Georgi, good explanation, but one thing to add. Usually, when you want to give a checkmate, it means it has to be a check, actually. So, a check is not always a checkmate, but in case you want to checkmate someone, very obviously you must give a check. So, what we need to do instantly is to look for a possibility of giving a check to the black king. Sometimes there might be many checks, then we have to choose the right one. But what is clear, it has to be a check. So we have to search for a check. In the current position, just a couple of pieces are on the board. So with a king, it's not possible to give a check to the opponent's king, obviously. That's why we have to use the rook. Rook has to give a check. So are there many checks on the board? No, there is just one check. It is to play rook to b8. So what we're gonna do is to play rook b8, and now we have a checkmate. Georgi, how many times you gave a checkmate to someone? Is it a common thing to give a checkmate, or usually the people resign before?
Resign before, it happens way more frequently though, like way more frequently. They don't let me, even when it's mate in one and I'm about to do that, they always resign.
Okay, so you cannot tell them checkmate.
No, unfortunately not. I
That's
wish,
a pity.
but it's not possible.
That's a pity.
How about your experience on that?
Okay, I gave you checkmates. And as well, today we saw the Iragasi actually receiving a checkmate from the E. So Iragasi played till the very last position, and the E gave a checkmate to Iragasi. Top 10 player is mating top 5 player in the world with a checkmate. Georgi, how do you like that?
That's a big one, actually. And usually I noticed one thing that if the game was played brilliantly and you kind of want to show the sportsmanship kind of thing, you let your opponent do the checkmate as well.
Okay,
So
let's go with a position number 2.
it's a
So,
nice gesture.
nice.
And as I see also people are tuning in and they just recently covered it. Hello, everyone. Feel free to tune in. Just tell us what you think will be the checkmate, how to deliver it, etc.
For
Try to
sure.
be active in chat.
In case you know how to give a checkmate, please suggest in the chat, nothing wrong with that. Till then, let us take a look at this position. This position is, of course, already much harder than the previous position because now we have much more possibilities. So we have to give a check to the black king as we spoke. We have now many options of giving a check. So for example, we can give a check here by playing queen to e2. We can give a check from d5. Also a check. We can check the black king even from the square h2. But actually there is even a better move. So Georgi, how would you find the best continuation here for white? What is your way of finding a checkmate?
Okay, first thing what I look at is how many moves does the king have? Let's say which direction it can go. The moment we understand that king has plenty of options right now, all these squares, I immediately know that I don't have to only deliver check, I should be controlling all the key squares as well, which keeps the options of checks very limited, which potentially might be a checkmate as well. So this thinking process will help you to determine what is the best shot in the current situation. Let's say, if we start with the move like queen d5, the problem is that the king will be escaping on many good squares. If you go for queen e2, there are many available ones as well. So first we need to understand how many checks are there. This is 1, 2, let's say 3, 4 potential ones, because we already know that check should be delivered. But we need to choose the place where the king has nowhere to go. That's why I try to bring it as close as possible to the king, potentially, to get the victory. And I think we have a checkmate on the board right now. Anyone which wants to mention it in chat?
Okay.
See, the best move is queen f4. People are tuning in.
Queen f4, almost, yeah. Almost, good direction, almost there, but not yet. So, the checkmate, let me do that. Queen g5. We put the queen in front of our opponent's king, and it is a checkmate because the black king has no squares to go away from the white queen on g5. Georgi, let's do the third checkmate. All right, so again we have king and queen. How to give a checkmate? We have many options. Check on b8, check on h3, h4 as well, g7. How to give a checkmate? Georgi, how old you been when you gave your first checkmate to someone?
I was 4 years old and I was happy to do that.
4 years old, you gave already a checkmate. Nice.
Yes. It was good times. Good times. I was very excited to do that as well. Took me some time to get there, but I was happy to deliver it.
Okay. So, we have basically the same structure like we saw in the previous sample. We have to put the queen as close as possible to the opponent's king. So, we play the move queen to g7. And again, it is a checkmate because the king cannot escape from h8. Okay, let's go with a checkmate number 4. Again, we have the rook. Like in the first sample, we have to give a check to the black king, and there is just one possibility of a check, that is to give a check on on h1. So, do we have something else that we can do? No. So only one way to give a check. So obviously, rook h1, we give a check, and it is again a checkmate because the king from c8 cannot escape. b7, not possible. c7, no way. d7 as well. So again, a checkmate. Let's go for checkmate number 5, this time with a queen. Georgi.
Well, with the queens, I noticed it looks like my specialty at this point. So, again, we need to look at possible checks. And when it comes with the queen, it's a little bit tricky because queen usually can deliver many kinds of checks. So always focus on one thing. Where is kind of the escaping square and how many moves the king can go? Here, we see that black has some opportunities with the king. And the best usually in those occasions is to bring the queen the closest to make a mate. So we can try to go with queen d2, but there is one square left and the king can escape on b1, so it won't quite work. We can try to go on b2 maybe, but it's gonna get captured. So we want to go somewhere on a good sweet spot, which covers everything. And the best one is to bring it right next to the king. So if we go for the move
Frontal.
like Queen C2, here we go. It covers
Checkmate.
everything. We say hi to this king. Done. Game over.
Excellent.
White wins the game.
Excellent. Yeah. So again, the same. We try to get the queen to the frontal position of the black king in case we can. That's the best. Let's go with the next one. Now we have to give a checkmate with a bishop pair. So this is usually much more trickier, because to give a mate, to give a checkmate with a bishop pair, first we have to get opponent's king into the corner, but actually opponent's king is already in the corner. So still the same idea remains. We have to give a check to be a checkmate. So not every check is a checkmate, but for sure we need to give a check, otherwise it's for sure not a checkmate. So how can we give a check to the black king on a8? There is just one way to give a check. It is to play bishop to c6, because there is no other way to give a check to the king on a8. So now the king is in check. King has to be moved somewhere. b8 square is covered. a7 square is covered. That's it. It's a checkmate. Georgi, you ever gave a checkmate with a bishop pair?
Oh, that I actually had many times in my practice. Right. Surprisingly many times I had it, and it was always quite simple to deliver it. And these bishops are really too good when it comes to the king alone. The trickiest part comes bishop and knight, which I have seen even many high-rated players struggle to deliver as well.
Yes.
But I do believe for our viewers eventually checking out everything, they will be able to easily, within 30 seconds max, making a checkmate. Come on, like it's easy task already. I don't think it's a complicated one.
Let's go to the next position. So once again with the rook, this time Georgi. How to checkmate here?
This time we actually need to think about a couple of things. Unlike the previous situation, black has got this pawn as well. It does change the situation a little bit, but not too much. Regardless, we need to identify how many squares the king is capable of moving. So there is king b8, b7, a7. Then we see which piece can deliver check. King cannot deliver check alone. There are some discovered checks. Probably we'll just check it out much later. So we have the rook. We have two options. Either we need to go rook d8 to make this check, or we need to go for rook a5. Usually mating once is kind of process of elimination. If we go for rook d8, this was one of the square for the enemy's king, which is problematic. The king is going to escape it and we can't do much. But on the other hand, these squares are covered by our king, meaning that if we give another check, we don't have to bother about the king escaping from us because our king got this covered. Therefore, it's going to be a check with checkmate, because this pawn, yes, indeed. And also very important thing is that probably some of you might already have learned how the pawn captures usually, but pawn cannot go on this kind of square now unless it takes something. So the pawn just moves that direction, but not on the side. So it's going to be checkmate in one. I've got this question a couple of times in the past from my students, but it's absolutely fine. It's mate.
Excellent, Georgi. So let's go with the next example. And here we have a very complicated checkmate in one, because we have to do it with the knight. Because it's the only piece that can give a check to the opponent's king. So how to give a checkmate with a knight? We have to give a check first. There are two options to give a check: knight f7 and knight to g6. Everything else is not a check. So we have to choose from this both moves possible which one to take. Let's go first with a wrong answer, and it would be knight to g6. Yes, it is a check, but there is a defense, so the king has no squares to go to, but the rook on g8 is capable of taking the knight, and obviously it's not a checkmate. So we have to be aware of the opponent's pieces. Let's try the knight f7. We give a check still to the black king. Is there a defense? The rook only moves straight, so rook cannot help the black king. King has no squares to go. As usual, the white king is covering g7, h7 squares. So by playing knight f7, we give a checkmate to the black king. Georgi, how many checkmates you gave actually with a knight?
I don't remember exactly. Let's say probably should be in hundreds, not thousand necessarily, but for some reason it's always
Hundreds.
so exciting actually to do it with the knight, because it's like it always gives you some joy if you do it with the queen, rook, actually with the knight, and specifically with the pawn as well. It's also quite pleasant to deliver mate as well. If you get this chance to do it with the knight, guys, do not miss it. Just do it right away, screenshot it, and send it to your friends. This is mandatory kind of ritual after delivering mate with the knight.
Mate in one by knight. Very nice. My favorite, I think, is pawn, as you said, Georgi. For me, checkmate with a pawn because it's just so rare, so it's spectacular. Or checkmate during you make a knight out of the pawn during the promotion of the pawn, so it's even
Oh,
more.
yes.
This is
I
even
had
more spectacular.
once probably the rarest checkmates ever available in online game en passant checkmate.
En passant checkmate. Wow, this is
Yeah, that's
ultra
like
rare.
probably
Yeah,
the
this is-
rarest.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go with the next position, Georgi. Now the things are getting much more complex. So we have couple
Oh,
of rooks. We have to choose the right side. Georgi, please.
Well, let's again. So we have got two rooks and our enemy's king stands alone, which is a really good sign for us. No pieces for defense, so we can do whatever we would like. But as we mentioned, there are plenty of opportunities, right? Because there are two rooks. So we have actually three checks specifically. One is rook b7. With this rook, we can't do more than that. Another is rook h7. And we can also play rook e8, but rook e8 is not really the best because black's king is going to capture the rook. So we need to decide which one to play, rook h7 or rook b7. We see that enemy's king cannot cross this file. So we actually had this similar situation a couple of times when the kings are staring each other. So black cannot move it anywhere. And also the king cannot go back because the rook takes care of it. That's why we need to give a check from the other side. This rook is not doing anything at all. So if we go for rook b7, we see that the king cannot escape thanks to our king covering up everything. Plus, the king cannot go along this file because the rook is taking care of it. And on the other hand, the rook covers up the back rank as well. So this is one option. If we go for rook h7, that doesn't quite work because if the king goes back, let's say, the rook was doing an excellent job while standing on the 8th rank, but we moved it away, and this guy is doing nothing at all. So try to bring the piece which does nothing into the attack. Most likely that will be the decisive one. And in this case, rook b7 does deliver a checkmate.
Exactly. Nice checkmate with a pair of rooks. Actually, this is quite rare to give a checkmate with pair of rooks. Doesn't happen
Yes, indeed.
too often. Sometimes it does, but quite a rare checkmate. Okay, Georgi, let's go with the position number 10. And here we have, again, a checkmate with a bishop. So we have no other piece that can theoretically give a checkmate to the black's king. So, checkmate always starts with a check. How can we give a check to the black's king? There is only one option, that is to play bishop d5. So a check is always attack on the king. So nothing else is possible here. So bishop d5, check. Can the black king move somewhere? b8, not possible. a7, b7, obviously not possible. So bishop d5, it's a checkmate. We give a check. No place to go. It is a checkmate. Georgi, how old you have been when you could really nicely make already this checkmates with age? How old you been?
I think 4 already. I started playing chess at the age of 4, roughly
Very early.
around a month to I would say maximum 2 months later, I could comfortably deliver mates with different pieces and so on. So
That's
yes,
nice.
I had hard time in the beginning learning with the knight because it's very tricky piece, like moving around very weirdly. But there was a moment when there was en passant checkmate. Specifically, my coach set it up for me, and I spent forever claiming that there was no mate, that it was not possible to make it work. So, yes, probably roughly at the age of 4, and en passant still
Very
is a
early.
pain, which I remember even now.
Wow, that you also remember all the things, because I started to play chess actually later, was I think approximately 5.5. So you had an advantage on me.
Yes.
Let's go, Georgi. So next position is yours. Next checkmate is yours.
Okay. So we have the bishops on the board, and again, we need to look for the opportunities how to deliver check. We know the king can't do much. The only piece which potentially can give a check is the bishop going to f6. Then we look at the situation. Where is the king going? Can go on g8? No, the king is there. g7? No, we're covering it. h7? The bishop stands there. Therefore, that's it. So if you have only one option, it becomes the easiest to find the checkmate solution. Sometimes it might be a bit tricky if you have a couple of pieces on the board. But this one is quite straightforward. We go for it, and that's it. Easy
Yes.
victory.
Excellent. So let's go for the next position. And here we have again the checkmate with a knight. Georgi thinks it's one of the nicest checkmates to give a checkmate with a knight, much better than to give a checkmate with a queen or rook, because it's just much more tricky. So let's give a checkmate. It means we have to give a check. How many checks can we give to the black king on h8? There is only one way now to give a check. It is to play knight to g6, because everything else is not a check. So it's quite easy to see. Knight g6, the only option that we have. So let's play it. Knight to g6. We give the check to the black's king. Now, king has no squares to go away from h8. That means this check is a checkmate. Georgi, next position is yours.
Okay, I noticed when the queens are on the board, it's already my part at this point.
Usually.
Okay, this is a bit more complex. It's a bit more complex. So, our opponent is not alone with the king and has the pawns as well. So, in this kind of situations, instead of covering how many check opportunities we have it, because usually the queen has a lot, have a look at where the king can go exactly. We see the king can go down on h8, g8, and there is h6 as well. So how many checks do we have? Note that if we give this check on d4 or e5, the king can escape on almost any of the squares. So we know that the best checkmate distance is the closest to the king. So queen f6 is interesting, but if we do that, the king can escape on g8. If we go queen f7, again, some problems, but we have got a really beautiful spot for the queen where the king has no way to escape, which is queen f8. All of a sudden, we give a check, plus covering the h6 square, which is the most crucial in this situation, h8 and everywhere else. And actually, we're very happy that opponent has these pawns, because without them, we could not deliver a checkmate. So we say thanks, and we say checkmate at the end of the day.
Excellent explanation, Georgi. A question. How many checkmates actually you received?
Oof, many, too many.
Yes,
and
you
I
can
need
always
to
play
say
until
that
the mate, yeah?
it depends, actually. If I saw my opponent played really good game and like beautiful sacrifice, etc., and deserves it, I usually let the checkmate happen on the board.
Yes.
I know I will end up on YouTube. Probably I'll become very famous. The guy which got checkmated, but if my opponent got it really nice, I let it happen.
Even in
So
classical
yes.
game.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, wow. In classical game,
But I
you
need to be
received a lot of
closer.
checkmates. Okay.
I need to be no, classical games are not that much, but if I see that I'm getting close and it's like mate in 1 or 2, that's the only time. I'm not like just playing piece down for him to make a checkmate or something like that, basically. So only if it's in a very short time period.
Okay, so let's go to the next checkmate. As well here, we have to give a checkmate in one move with a queen. So we have the queen. How many checks do we have? We have the option of queen e3. It would be a check. And as well, we have the option of playing queen to b8, which would be a check. Do we have something else to deliver a check? Actually, there is another check like queen a8, but this would be a very bad check because, yeah, the king can just take the queen. So, two options, queen e3 or queen b8. Let's go first with the move queen to e3. It's a check. Is there a defense for black? We can see that the king can escape to a8. So obviously, it is not a checkmate in one move. That's why we have to try the different option. It is to play queen to b8, our last option to give a check. And this time, where can the king go from a7? a6, not possible, there is a pawn. b6 is covered by the white king from c7. So queen b8 is a checkmate. That's it. Good, let's go with the next sample. Now, Georgi.
Here we go. Oh, opponent has the rook, heavy artillery in action at this point. Well, you've got to be cautious whenever you're trying to give check in the situations, no doubt. How many options do we have? One is queen e6, another is queen a1, or queen b1. The king, how many escaping roads it has? It cannot go on any of the squares at the moment because it's covered by our pieces. So as we mentioned before, the best possible checkmate option is to bring the queen the closest to the enemy's king. And now going on a1, it's too much because black's king can just capture it and we're going to lose the game after that. But if we go on b1, that's a good option because it's protected by the king. The king cannot go on any of the squares, and thanks to our enemy's rook, sometimes their own pieces might be disturbing their king, that the king can't go on a3 square, and that's why we deliver a checkmate. So when it comes to the queens, we already know the closest to the king probably will be the best.
Okay, next sample. Let's see what is coming next. And next is similar to the previous sample. So again, we have rook as a defender. We have just the queen. We have to get to the black's king. The best, as Georgi said, as near as possible. So for example, queen a4 would be a very far away check. This is not what we should consider first. Can we give a check on h3? No, because the king can take it. So we have to get as close as possible to the black king, and it would be to play queen g4. King has no squares to go. Frontal is usually always a checkmate. All right, let's go with the next one.
Oh, we have got rooks on the board already. And actually, materially, it's equal. If you noticed, we have similar pieces left on the board. If not the checkmate right away, we probably cannot push for the win. How many checks have we got? Rooks are quite straightforward. When you face these positions, look at how many checks. Usually it's two, like in general, how many checks you can give it. And now we have got only one option to go with rook h2. The question is, that's it? Is black going to survive there? Definitely not. No squares for the king to escape. Our king does amazing job saying hello, not letting it come closer to our king, and the king is just getting mated. There is no help. And the rook on h5, either being there or not, doesn't change anything whatsoever.
Yes, that's a checkmate. All right, let's go with the next one. Here we have again the rook. So similar idea as in the previous samples, we have to get to the black's king. Now black has even two rooks, but the rooks are not doing much. So how can we deliver a check to our opponent's king? There's just one check here. It is to play a rook to b7 frontal, and the king has bad luck. own rooks are clothing the gates. No escape. In case there is no escape, it is a checkmate. All right, let's go with the next one. Georgi?
Good one. We have got the rook again versus the king and bishop. In regular situations, bishop is quite strong, but this time it's disturbing its own king. How many checks have we got? One option is to go on f5, say hi to this king, but unfortunately the king will be escaping. And we've got another opportunity is to play rook a2. But this time when we go rook a2, even though we don't control all the squares with our king, there is the bishop, which is so annoying. Very unlucky shot for black that they have this piece there and is keeping the king stuck. Therefore, it's going to be a checkmate.
Excellent. Number 20 sample. So here we have a bit more complex situation. So 2 rooks for weight. And there is just one move that is a checkmate. Let's see how we can do that. So we have to give a check to the black king. How many checks do we have? We can take the opponent's rook, number 1. We can give a check on g4, number 2. We can give a check on e8, number 3. And rook to g3, number 4. So that's it. We have to choose one of these checks. Sometimes both moves can be a checkmate, but usually in most of the positions there is just one checkmate, and currently we have just one option for a checkmate. Let's see first the wrong answer. So in case we will take the rook on a1, king is just gonna take back, and that's it. It's not a checkmate, so easy to see that. In case we give a check with the rook on b5, king has 2 different options to escape. It is to play king to a2 or king to c1, so definitely not a checkmate. Let's consider the last wrong answer. It is to give a check on b6 with a rook. So black king, where to go? There is still a square on f8, so again not a checkmate. Our last try, rook to d1. We give a check. Where to escape for the black king? There is no escape on a2 because we have the rook here. To go to c2 or b2 is not possible. We have the king. So no way to escape. It means it is a checkmate. Nice. Georgi,
Nice.
actually, you ever had the opportunity to explain checkmates, or you do it for the first time now?
Actually, I had it when
had
I
it?
was working on the...
Okay.
Yes. I had this when I was explaining how to play chess and everything, how to deliver it. And usually what I tell my students is that you should try to go for the process of elimination as well. Sometimes the checkmate will not come on the first whenever you think about it. But if you look at a couple of options, as you explained, you understand that, okay, you eliminate this option, doesn't work, the king escapes something. And eventually you build up the habits of knowing which type of moves is going to be decisive, and you can get the victory as well. So yes, I've had this moment, and it was fun, definitely. No doubt.
Okay, so you're experienced trainer in explaining checkmate in one move. That's good. Okay, Georgi, so the floor is yours. Next checkmate.
Oh boy, knight, always exciting one. And let's have a look. We have the situations where having the pieces usually is bad from one of the side, because the king sits inside the cage, cannot breathe right now, is screaming for the fresh air, but cannot do it. Goes there, but our king stands, and it's like some guards are capturing a person there which cannot move around. So what is our main catch? Yes, we just say hello there or hello YouTube, and that's it. So we need to bring the king closer to the king. Bring the knight. How? Either knight d3 or knight f3. It's because this one of those will be a checkmate. If we try to go for knight d3, there are some pieces attacking this. So rook can take it, bishop can take it. That's why it will not be a checkmate. But if we take another direction, we have seen these kings staring each other, couple of times. The king has no escape squares. We're saying hi to this one, and black just resigns. There is no point because it's checkmate on the board.
Excellent, Georgi. You're very strong in giving checkmates, especially with a
Yes,
knight. Very
with
good.
the knights.
The next example, we have again the knight. So, how to give a checkmate with a knight? We have two different options to give a check, because to give a checkmate, we need to give a check first. We have the option of playing knight to f4. It's gonna be a check. And we have the option of playing knight to g3 with a check. We have to choose one of those two. Let's go first with the wrong one. It is to play knight to g3. We have a check. Yes, it is correct. But there is a defense for black. The black king obviously can go nowhere, but the pawn can take the knight. So we have h pawn takes the knight on g3, and that's it. The knight is gone. It's not a checkmate. So let's try again. Knight g3 is the wrong answer. Let's try to play knight to f4. We give a check. Is it a checkmate? Can the king go back or forward? No. Can the king come closer? Obviously not, because we have the king standing here, the white king on f5 like a guard. So it is a checkmate. Knight f4, checkmate to the king. Actually, it's a very rare checkmate with a knight against two pawns. A very, very rare constellation, because the black pawns are disturbing the black king here. Quite a rare checkmate. Georgi, the floor is yours.
Okay, here we go. So, rook and pawn. Well, we do know that the queen usually is stronger than the rook, but it depends on the situation. Well-placed rook or even the pawn is going to be way more powerful than the queen. So here, when it comes to the rooks, I do believe it's one of the easiest to deliver mate. How many checks have we got? The king has no squares to go. We need to somehow bring the piece closer. You might think, okay, how about rook g8? But there is king g8 later, and what do we do? But remember one thing. Even though the pawns don't go on the sideways, whenever they move, they protect it on the sideways. Therefore, rook g8, we're getting closer to the king, like the style of the queen when we try to reach that. King cannot go anywhere thanks to our pawn protecting it. And this queen is just a spectator, is watching everything with ultra HD and just not enjoying whatever is happening right now. So, but she's a witness of her team losing the game, no doubt.
Excellent, Georgi. Let's take a look at position number 24, and this time we will deliver a checkmate with a bishop because we don't have other pieces on the board. King is here, our king is here, we have to give a check. And maybe it's gonna be a checkmate. Where and how can we give a check? There is just one option here to give actually a check, and it is to play bishop to g5. So from far away, our bishop, actually in many languages, bishop is called the archer. Just in English, actually the word bishop is a bit strange, no, Georgi? Because in most languages it is the archer. Or
that is correct.
Or in some languages it is the elephant as well.
Elephant, yes. In mine, it is called a turtle.
Turtle.
Which is the weirdest thing, actually. Why turtle? It's moving around so fast,
yeah,
actually.
Makes no sense. It's definitely not a turtle.
I don't know why, but it's so weird, actually. So, yeah.
Okay, this I never heard before, that the bishop can be called a turtle, because it's actually such a fast piece. As we can see now from far away, the bishop is delivering a check to the black king. Is there a place to go for the black king? Covered, covered, covered. Is there a way to put something in front of the king to avoid the checkmate? Bishop, not possible. The rook, no. In case there is nothing, it is a checkmate with a bishop. Or, as Georgi would say, with a turtle.
Yes, that is so weird, actually.
Position number 25. So again, we have the bishop turtle in action. It's like power turtles, yeah, they're mutants. So
And we need to somehow give a check to this king. Really, we need to get closer. And here, there are not that many options that we can deliver check, right? The king stands along this white diagonal. Our bishop is the right color. And usually we cannot make a checkmate with the king move. There are some rare occasions, but yes. So we need to bring the bishop somehow. If we go on d5, looks like the only check possibility. And yet again, black's pawn itself is terribly located there, not allowing the king to have a fresh air, and we can make a mate on very short orders. I have no idea why it is called a turtle. It just makes the move from here, controls everything. But yes, I do believe probably Georgians didn't know exactly the meaning of the piece in chess, and they just chose a random name, and here we are.
okay, let's go with the next sample. So here we have again the bishop, but now we have two different options. So we have two different checks that can be delivered to the black king. It is to play to g6 or to play to c6. Which one to choose from these two checks? Let's go first with the wrong answer, and it would be to give a check here on g6. Why bishop g6 is wrong? Yes, we give a check. Yes, indeed, king has no moves to move away, but black has a defense, and it is to play rook f7. So black puts a piece in between, and obviously it is not a checkmate. Black escapes. So let's go back. To play with the bishop to g6 is wrong. Let's try to give a check now on c6. Same idea, we give a check. Is there an opportunity for black to put something in between? No, because the bishop cannot move like that. Only rook moves frontal. So, black king, no squares to go. Looks like a checkmate, and it is a checkmate. Georgi, another question. You ever had a situation where you thought you delivered a checkmate and actually you missed some defense? So you said it's a checkmate, and then your opponent said, no, it's not.
Actually, on the board, I don't recall it. Probably I've had it in the past. But when I do it online and I expect the new window to pop up, tell me I've gained the rating points, and it was like, good game, GG, well done, bravo, and people applauding on the back. But I see the timer continues running down when I think it's made. I have almost a heart attack there because I missed probably a turtle which is sitting, I don't know, like 10 squares away to capture the piece which I'm making a check with. So yeah, that actually looks quite bad there. So here we are.
Okay.
It's a terrible feeling, and I've had it in online chess.
So you see, Georgi, actually, you're not 100% sure in giving checkmates. According to your own explanation, sometimes you think it is a checkmate, but it is not.
That's the worst feeling,
Let's
by the way.
practice
It's
more.
so bad feeling.
Let's practice more. So, Georgi, can you deliver a checkmate?
We've got the bishop versus bishop. Even though it is the same in terms of the quality, we don't care. We have seen the occasions when only one knight was delivering mate against the whole army of the enemy. Don't focus on that. Focus on where the king is moving. We see 1, 2, 3 options, but all of them are covered up. So we know which piece needs to make a checkmate, which is only one square available. The bishop, the turtle, needs to go along this diagonal. So if we go for bishop e5, real quick, double check it behind the h8 square whenever you're looking at it on your screen or on the board, or somewhere along that if something is hiding behind the scenes. Yes, it's very important. It can come on very unexpected situations. But now we've got a check, king has nowhere else to go, and that's it. Only thing black needs to do is to do the handshake and maybe potentially prepare for the next game. That's it.
Excellent. Looks like a checkmate. So let's go with the next one. In the current sample, we have two rooks. Again, it is getting a bit more complex. We have to deliver a checkmate, but now we have two different options. So we have to give a check to the black king. How can we give a check to the black king? Two options. Or we play the move rook to g6, would be a check. And the second option is to play rook h6. It would be a check as well. Which one to choose from these two options? How to make a decision? Let's start first with the wrong move. It would be to give a check here. Yes, it is a check. And indeed, the black king cannot come forward. Obviously, black has no pieces to put in between. So, how to escape from this check? Black king is able to go back. So we go back, and yes, it is not a checkmate because the king can escape. Let's try the other option, to go rook to g6 check. Same idea. King cannot come forward, but as well, king is not able to go backward because we have this rook on h7 to cut the 7th rank. So rook g6 is a checkmate. Georgi, let's go with the next one. Now much more difficult.
Oh, the queen on the board. Okay, so remember, ladies and gentlemen, what we mentioned. Hello everyone, whoever just joined in chat. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, just mention the moves, whatever comes on top of your head. Help us deliver mates, so we will learn it together. So here, we mentioned that the best ways usually to deliver mate to the enemy's king is to bring the queen closer. Because king is a really tricky piece, can go on many squares at once, even though only by one square still. So we know that the best shot probably will be to play queen e2, because it just completely freezes the king without letting him escape on any squares at all. But the catch is that we can't do it because it is unprotected. We look at some other opportunities as well. How about we go queen g1? In this case, the king escapes on e2, so it's not a good news. Okay, how about some other options? Going far away is rarely the right solution, but we can try to go on d2. This way, we give a check to the king, and at the same time covering up a lot of key squares, and thanks to our bishop is covering up the f1 square as well. And as I see, we have got chess riddle with the correct answer. Queen d4 indeed is the best shot. The king has no good squares to go, and we are winning on spot. Well done, chess riddle. You got this.
Very nice. And as well, there is a backside a little bit of this checkmate in one, because just imagine you're playing a game and you have the opportunity to checkmate your opponent, and then actually you're missing that. How pity is that, Georgi? Terrible feeling, no?
Painful,
when you have the opportunity of winning, just in one move you're missing that. Well,
that's the worst feeling, I think, right? And chess, that's the worst you can miss.
Terrible feeling, really, yeah. So. Terrible feeling. All right, let's go with the next position and a checkmate. So we have again the queen. We have to bring it, usually, as Georgi said, as close as possible to the opponent's king. Would it be enough to play queen to h7? No, this is not enough. So how can we give a check? The close as possible, and it is to play queen to g2. So the king has no squares to go. The king cannot take the queen because we have the king on c6. Obviously, we give a check, so nowhere to go. It means it is a checkmate. Next one, Georgi. I think I doubled one position. Or we had something, or not exactly.
Repetition is never wrong in this case. So we need to, as we mentioned, the queens, I think it was a trick question. If someone could recall it based on checking the stream in the past, actually. So here we actually have an opportunity to deliver mate. As we pointed out, we really want to get closer to the enemy's king. as much as possible. We see the king has a couple of squares to run away from, so we want to get really, really close, such as queen g4. And that's usually the best possible square. If it is well defended, the king is protecting it, and the king cannot escape anywhere. And always don't forget my words. Watch out for the hidden pieces. If some bishop is standing somewhere there, or some rook is capturing
Especially
it,
for
because
the
the
knight.
moment you
Knight.
make a checkmate, knight especially
Knight
as well,
is
you
very
make a
tricky.
checkmate, and imagine you feel like, okay, that's it, the clock will stop, you're about to share it to your friends how you made a checkmate, and the clock doesn't stop. It continues running. That's a terrible one, though.
Okay.
We are one step away to quit chess, probably, right after doing that.
Definitely, you must be sure with a checkmate. So, let's have a look at the next sample. So this checkmate is already much more complex. So we have the king quite far away. So usually it's much easier to give a checkmate with the frontal kings, or at least when our king is very close to the opponent's king. In the current situation, it is not. So how to give a checkmate? We have the bishop here on f5. Bishop definitely helps us because it covers the c8 square. So can we use the bishop to give a checkmate by itself? No, we need the white queen. So where to play the white queen to give a checkmate? We have to be careful here. We have to think a little bit about it. Could it be something like that? Queen f8 check. Is it a checkmate? It is not, because the black king can escape to c7, so it is not a checkmate. Where else can we give a check? Can we give a check here? Yes, we can, but now the black king can even choose to go to c7 or e8 or e7. Big choice. It is not a checkmate still. So how to checkmate the black king? It is queen to d7. So again, we have this frontal position, and we are able to play the move queen to d7 mate because of the bishop on f5. So the bishop supports the queen. Queen is having a beautiful position in front of the black king. King has no squares to go. There are no hidden pieces, like Georgi likes to say. It means this check is a checkmate. Georgi, the floor is yours. Next position. Queen and knight.
Here we go.
Queen and knight.
Okay. Knight, as we know, is very, very tricky and can jump around on many squares, but when you see something like that, usually it's not the right way to deliver mate. So we need to move on. Here we have some chat as well. It was just in Georgian language written. One of the person which has the same name as me just asked, it's too difficult puzzles to solve it. So I asked him to join us and tell us how to do it properly. So here, enemy's king. Remember what we said? That we want to bring the queen really close to the enemy's king? This is so important. The queen has plenty of checks, but we don't want to bring the queen on the other board and play on our neighbor's board. Therefore, we need to bring it as close to the enemy's king as possible. So we can try to go for a queen d2. But okay, usually when we said this queen was just hanging and there was no defense. But luckily, our knight does a really excellent job. It's the main shield of covering up the queen. And we know if the king and queen ends up in front of each other, there is no way that the king escapes. Therefore, white wins the game immediately.
Exactly. Looks like a checkmate. Is like a checkmate. It is probably a checkmate. By the way, for the chat, let's keep the chat in English so all of us can participate it, all of us can understand it as well. For the people from Georgia, in case you know English, it would be nice to write in English. Let's go with the next puzzle, and this one is even harder than the previous one. Now we have rook, queen on the board. We have a defender here, the knight on e1. Quite a strong defender. Usually the knights are very strong in a defense. Let's see how we can checkmate the black king. So how can we do that? There are few options of a check. So we have the option of checking here on b5, very far away, usually a wrong solution. Then we have a check here. We have a check one more square to the right, and we have the check another square to the right. So we have to choose basically from these three squares, and there is just one checkmate. How to choose the right one? Let's check. So let's start with this one. Check. Is there a defense? Can the black king go somewhere? Yes, the black king can escape, so it's not a checkmate. Let's take a look what happens in case we give a check here on g2 square. It is a check. Can the black king escape somewhere? No, but we have this defender, the knight on e1, and now the knight can eat the white queen away. So obviously not a checkmate. Great defense by the black knight. So let's go back. How to deliver a checkmate? We have just one more option left, and it is once again this frontal position. So frontal position is usually the best way to checkmate, is the safest way to checkmate. From a frontal position, there is no escape for the black king. As well, the knight does not much now. So the queen can be taken. No, because we have the rook here. The rook on a2. Boom. Protecting the queen. It means queen to c7 and... Sorry, queen f2. Because it's just turned. A little bit strange to me to have to look at the position from the turn side. So queen to f2. It is a mate. Nice mate. Next position. Actually, we've done so far already 34 different checkmates. Let's go with a checkmate number 35, Georgi.
And we are crushing it, guys, and you are seeing it with us. And this is the fastest explanation that he has seen it in the recent game. This is unbelievable. Here I see it in chat mentioning again in Georgian. I'll just type it in Georgian, mentioning that we do move on in English. Hopefully he will just be able to communicate with us. It will be better to keep it on one language. So how about this position? What should we do? We have the rook alone. We have seen already the similar examples. I didn't know that our examples were happening immediately into the action within seconds. But here we are. These classes make the magic happen. So unbelievable amount of speed that it immediately appeared on the board. So now what should we do with white? There is only one check opportunity for the rook, and we don't need to avoid that. Just we need to deliver this check and say hi to this king. We have seen this example quite a lot, where the kings are staring each other, meaning that the king cannot escape on any of the squares, and we're just going to play rook h3, and it's a checkmate.
Excellent
Easy
checkmate.
peasy lemon squeezy.
Excellent
Fantastic.
checkmate number 35 for today. So let's see if we can find checkmate number 36. This time we have the queen, we have as well the pawn to support the queen, and the king is on d5, little bit too far away, the king. So we have no big hopes for the white king to support somehow the checkmate. Let's see. We have different options of checks. As we know already, we should try to give a check which is the closest to the black king. In best case, it is a frontal check. Let's take a look. We have option of checking here on a3. We have the option of checking here on b5. Do we have some other checks? We have the option of checking here on c3, but usually to go by the side, it's just a wrong thought, so this is not going to work out. We have these two nice options, frontal check or check on the side, which as well is very, very close to the king. Sorry. Let's take a look first at the wrong answer. Check on a3. Is there a way to defend from a check for black? Can we put something in between? No, just the king on a5, so no more pieces on the board. Where to go for the black king? Is it possible to go to b5? No, because we have the pawn. Can we escape to b6 maybe? Yes, we can. So king b6. It is not a checkmate to start the game with the move queen to a3, because the black king is able to escape to b6. So how can we checkmate here? Let's try the move queen to b5. We give a frontal check. Obviously, the black king has no opportunity to escape from a5. Is it possible for the black king to take the queen? No, it is not possible. Why is it so? Because we have the pawn on c4 to support the queen on b5. So once again, we are able to deliver this frontal checkmate. Very nice, actually, for the pawn to support the queen. A nice constellation of pieces. Pawn supporting queen in the checkmate. Georgi, let's go with the checkmate number 37. We have once again similar idea.
Yes, indeed. So basically, we need to figure out what to do with the queen and the pawn. And as we have mentioned it a couple of times, seems like it's quite common idea. We want to bring the queen as close to the enemy's king as possible. And also you need to make sure that this queen is going to be defended as well. Rather than checking out how many opportunities the king has to escape from there when it comes to queens, or checking out how many checks are there, because there will be a lot of checks. Some of them might be correct, some of them wrong. It's better to look at it, the main technique. Bring the queen the closest to the enemy's king as much as possible. Can we go on g5? No, black will be able to take it. Can we do it on g3? No, we don't have a support. But luckily we have got the pawn over there, which covers up very important g4 square. So we can just go for this check, and the king cannot do anything thanks to our pawn. And we didn't even need our king's support from e3 square as well. I also see, Arkady, there is a question for us in the chat. Bring it on. What do you think?
Let's just recommend new players learn these patterns rather than how to calculate them. Well, I think it's always a combination. You have to know some patterns, but as well you need to calculate it each time, because each chess position is a bit different. There is no similar chess game to 100%. So you have to learn the pattern, plus you have to calculate. You cannot avoid the calculation. It's not possible. So it should be always both. You must learn the concepts, plus you have to do the calculation. Without calculation, it would be just a guess. So it's not enough to be sure. Georgi, do you see it the same way, or what would you suggest?
Yes, indeed, actually, because without having the knowledge, it will be a torture. Maybe you might just look at it for a long time when you don't know the patterns. It's so difficult to get to the right answer. So knowing it, learning it, mastering, checking out different concepts will be much, much faster and easier to find the best continuation on the board. So yes,
Definitely.
for sure.
So let's take a look at the current position, and we have something similar like in the previous sample. We have the pawn here on c6, and the pawn is going to support the white queen. So we have a couple of options, and actually we have a new option to deliver a check with a pawn. But usually, in case you deliver a check with a pawn, usually it is not a mate. It's not a checkmate. Only in very rare cases you can mate the opponent's king with a pawn. So let's take a look at that. We give a check, king c8. So the black king can escape. It's not a checkmate. How to checkmate the black king? We already know the direction. We should try to put the queen as close as possible to the black king. In the best case, it is frontal. So can we play the move queen to d7 check? King has no squares to go. The pawn from c6 is supporting the white queen. Can the black king take the queen? No. So it means we gave a checkmate. First we gave a check, no escape. It is a checkmate. Georgi, number 39 with a pair of rooks. Can you checkmate the black king?
We are moving on relatively fast, actually. And yes, indeed, we have crossed 120 subscribers. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for supporting us and actually following everything. We got this. This is just the beginning. Many more to come. Follow us along our journey.
And as well, we are usually doing very different topics. So today we decided to do something for the people who just start playing chess. It is a checkmate in one. For example, yesterday we had attacking games. Before we had the defense. It's been a little bit for more advanced players. So we tried all the variety of different things. So everyone has something to enjoy.
Definitely, definitely. So here in this situation, when it comes to two rooks, pattern works that way. One of the rook usually controls the file in front of the king to not allow the king to escape. And another one is giving a check on the other horizontal. So let's say something like rook f8 or rook g8 should be played. Because now we see that this rook does a tremendous job covering up the 7th rank, but there is another opportunity to go here is rook g8, for example. And we can go for either rook g8 with a checkmate idea or rook f8, depending on the occasion what we're going to select. So now we can't just go for rook f8 because the king is going to capture it. But if we try to go for rook g8, it's just a mate. So black cannot escape by any means. How about some other checks? Maybe rook e7. Yes, we can give a check, but the king has a couple of ways to escape, which is not going to work out well overall. So rook g8 mate will be the main way to play in this position. That's a nice mate indeed.
And the only way. So, just one way to mate the black king. Rook to g8. Very nice. Let's go with the next sample. A bit more difficult checkmate currently. We have the knight here. We have the queen. We have the black king. So we have to bring the queen, in best case, frontal to the opponent's king. So this would be the move queen to g2. So the first thought should be, is it possible to play the move queen to g2? Perfect position for the queen. Can the queen be taken? No, because we have the knight. Knight defends the queen. It means that queen cannot be taken. What does it mean? This check is a checkmate. So actually, with this thought, we might save some time. So we don't need to calculate different moves here, different checks, because we know the best check is a frontal check. So for example, if the frontal check would not work, then we have to search for something else. But in case we have the opportunity to give a frontal check, which is usually a checkmate, except this piece can be taken. So we have the queen, the strongest piece. Black has no pieces left. Can the queen be taken after queen to g2 check? No. So it is a checkmate. Number 41, Georgi. So give a checkmate number 41.
We are following the same footsteps. Bring the queen as close to the enemy's king as possible. And here it is possible to give numerous of checks. But what do we calculate? g5, g6, g7. And also try to make sure that you're choosing the square which is guarded by another piece. Because if you just throw the queen away, it will get captured and you get nothing. So let's say queen g5 like takes it. If not capturing, it would be a mate because we're covering up all the key squares. If you go for queen g7, the king can just take it and that's it. But how about queen g6? That's it. The bishop protects it very well. So you don't need to dig into all these details. Maybe you can give some numerous amount of checks. Just bring it next to the king. That's it. If it works, we don't ask questions. If something works, this is number one in programming specifically, actually. If a code works, don't touch it. Even if it's so weird and you have no idea how to make it work and how is it going to work in total, just leave it. Don't touch it.
Okay,
that's
usually
it.
We like to say don't change a winning system.
Here we go. That's a better way to put it, no doubt.
Let's go with the next checkmate. And here we have again a situation where we have pair of rooks and the opponent's king is pretty near. So we have a couple of options for the checks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 different options to give a check to the black king. And just one option gives a checkmate. Which option is it? Let's check. Rook e8. Is it a checkmate? No, because the black king is gonna take the rook. Let's try to give a check here. Black king to go to the left. Not possible. To go to the right. Yes. We can. So no checkmate. Let's try to give a check here. So we have this double ring idea. Can the black king escape somewhere? Yes, it can, because king can take the white rook. It's just too near. Just imagine the rook would be not here, but just one square to the right. Then it would be a checkmate. Currently, the rook can be taken, so no checkmate. How to give a checkmate? We have just one move available. Nothing else is left, because nothing else is giving actually a check, so we can only play the move rook from here, from the C file to the D file. We give a check to the black king. Black king cannot go to the right. There is another rook. Black king cannot go to the left because of the white king on b7. So the king supports the attack of the rooks. Without a king, it would be not a checkmate. So now, because we have the king here on b7, we can say that after the current move rook to d7, it is a checkmate. Georgi, next position. Wow, that's a nice position. That's a nice one.
Oh, that's a good position in front of us. The knight being a hero. Just one more move for black, and we can think about what to play with the black pieces in the opening and the next game. Black is about to play b1, promoting to the queen, or the rook, or anything actually, and just going after our king. So we should hurry up. These pawns are, even though a big strength for black, because they can just go for b1 or a1 or something like that. But at the same time, it's a huge weakness too. Why? Because now they are covering up the king's mobility. And usually that's a very good sign for us. So we would like to deliver a check. Knight can try to go on c2 or b3, one of those versions, which is significantly better compared to other options, right? So we need to deliver check. Knight c2 not possible, because our king stands there. How about we play knight b3? And we know the knight can just jump around. It doesn't need to get distracted by the enemy's pieces. And if we try that, look at that. The king is under check, while the king actually cannot escape from any of the squares, and thanks to enemy's pawns, we have easy checkmate and a quite beautiful one on the board. Always happy to deliver mates with the knight.
Especially when you're so close to promotion. I mean, just one more move for black, and it would be very, very bad for white. So checkmate in the last second. Let's go for the checkmate number 44, and here we have a similar situation as we've been faced few puzzles ago. We have the bishop, we have the queen. We have different options of giving a queen. There is a defender, rook on c1, a good defender for black. This rook is cutting the king on g6, so the king is out of the game. We have to deliver mate just with the bishop and the queen. What are our options here to give a check to the black king on d1? There is an option to give a check with the bishop, but usually it's never a mate. This is the problem, because if we have a choice between bishop and queen, of course we try to check with the queen, because most probably it is going to be a checkmate in case we give a check, which is very close to the opponent's king. Let's check. So in case we act according to the plan, we give queen e2 check. So the queen gave a check to the king on e8. The queen is protected by the bishop, so black king cannot take the queen. Is there a way to take the queen with a rook? No, because in case it would be a knight, yeah, this would be bad. But rook cannot take the white queen. King, no escape for the black king. This means it is a checkmate. So quite a nice checkmate delivered by the queen. Queen e2 with a checkmate. Let's go with the next checkmate. Georgi, can you checkmate the black king next?
Okay, that's a nice one. And as we can see, we have an extra rook and the bishop, but the rook is under attack. If we start considering the moves like rook g1 or rook h2, it's definitely not going to work because our opponent will be able to grab them and it will be quite a bad news. So we need to look for the opportunities to give a check with the bishop instead. So if we try to go bishop h3, does it work? Not really, because black will be able to take on h1. How about we go bishop e4 check? That's actually something what we want to try, because we give a check to the king, but not only that, the bishop protects the rook underneath as well. So if black tries to grab the rook, it still will be under check, so it's not possible. Otherwise, where else is the king going? This rook does an amazing job covering up the key squares, so the king cannot actually escape. Therefore, white easily wins the game.
Very nice checkmate with the bishop on e4. e4 actually is maybe the most popular square, no? Georgi, what do you think?
Yes,
what is actually
yes,
the
indeed.
most popular square in chess?
Yes,
I think it might
no
be the
doubt.
square e4, yeah. Okay, let's go with the next checkmate. Now we have king and rook versus king and two pawns. We have to check the black king, otherwise it would be not a checkmate. Where can we check? It is only on the square d8 because there is no other check available. So let's go. Rook to d8, check. Is there escape for the black king? No, the pawns are moving forward, so the pawn cannot go back to defend the king. In case the king has no squares to go, in case the pawns cannot help the king, also the rook cannot be taken on d8, so we gave a check, and now we see this check is a checkmate. Next one, Georgi.
That was a nice one. And here we have a traditional example. When it comes to the queen, the best possible approach is to get as close to the king as possible, and the frontal check will be the best. Try to put it right in front of your enemy's face if it's a possibility. Luckily, our king gives us this opportunity to have the f7 square covered, so we can test out some other options, but the king always tries to escape. We can't go there because black even will be able to capture it or escape there. But we have got queen f7. Always look at this kind of options first. In case it fails, then we can try to investigate further with the different variations. Now we are covering all the key squares. Enemy's king cannot capture it. Therefore, white wins the game. It's mate on the board.
Very nice. Let's go with the next one. Here we have again the situation that we have the queen plus the pawn. Pawn has to help us. The white king is too far away to support the queen. It means the pawn has to do something to help us mating the black king. And how can we do that? We have to get as close as possible. In the best case, it is to be frontal, in front of the black king. So first intention, it is to play queen to b7. Can the queen be taken? No, because we have here the protector. Pawn on c6. Pawn c6 protects the queen. King has no escape to go. It is a checkmate. So like this, we can checkmate quite easily the black king. So we have this first idea. Let us get the queen in front of the black king. In case it doesn't work, we search for something else. So a checkmate. Next one, Georgi.
Okay. Queen versus rook. Rook is a tough guy, really. It's better to not mess up with it for a long period of time at least, but the queen is even tougher. But in this case, we have heavy artillery on the board. So you should always be cautious how to play precisely, which check you need to give, because one small mistake and it might backfire badly. So how many checks do we have available? Before you start counting of the number of checks with the queen, always try to approach the king closer. So Not some queen h7, not queen going on the other board or just playing it into neighbor's house. You just want to get to the king as close as possible. Now and we have an opportunity to go for a queen c2 check. And what happens there? It is well guarded by the king. The king has no escape routes, and luckily there is the rook standing on a1, which forces black to freeze the king on b1, and there is no escape road. Black's king is probably very mad at its own rook at this point, but there is nothing they can do about it. This is a checkmate. Another example of bringing the queen so close to the enemy's king and saying, hello, YouTube, at the end of the day.
Actually, it's quite strange, no? That by the chess rules you cannot eat your own piece. Because why not?
I really wished many times when I'm attacking and my pawn stands in front of me and I have the queen, two rooks, but the files are... it would be really fun, actually. Maybe there is a chess format even, because there are many versions, like 3 times you give a check, you have all the pawns, etc. I'm curious if that exists. It would have been interesting to play at least.
Okay, yeah. So let's see if we can deliver a checkmate right now. So we have the bishop here hiding on h2, but the bishop is very powerful because it controls the square b8. King has no escape. Sorry. So strong bishop, we have the king on a6. King cannot give a check. The bishop cannot give a check. What's left? And it is our pawn on b6. Can we give a checkmate with a pawn? It's a very rare case, very rare case that we can actually mate the opponent's king with a pawn, but this time, yes, we can. So let's try. We play the move b7 check. Is there an escape? a7, no. b8, no, because we have the bishop on h2. So actually, by playing the move b7, we're giving a check to the black king. There is no escape, and it means it is a checkmate. Checkmate with a pawn. One of the rarest things we can have in the chess game. It happens so rare. Georgi, you ever gave a checkmate with a pawn?
Yes, I did, and the most proud of was en passant checkmate.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable to give a checkmate with en passant.
I actually was so excited to see that. It was one of those occasions I gave a check on d3 with the bishop. My pawn was standing there, f5, and then I took it with the mate on the board. So it was really good.
Huge to give a mate with en passant. I think I never had it in my whole life to give a checkmate with en passant. I can't remember that. I don't think so. I don't think so. So, Georgi, 50 puzzles. Should we do more, or you think it's enough for the first time?
I think for the first part, it should be good. For the first part should be good. We completed a lot of it. We have explained many different ideas as well. Let the people sink in, digest it, understand these ideas, and we will come with more in the future.
Because we have as well some nice positions on complicated mates in one when there are many different pieces on the board, so a complete mess, but actually have a chance of mating in one move. And even grandmasters sometimes are missing this kind of opportunities because you just don't believe that there is a mate in one. When there are a lot of pieces, sometimes not easy to see this mate in one. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, we're gonna do from all kind of different chess educational material, attacking, defense, positional chess, mate in 1, mate in 2. We're gonna as well show some studies, but studies are crazy, no, Georgi? How to solve studies is just so difficult. So
extremely difficult, and come up with all these ideas of it's tough, really tough task, no doubt.
Very difficult to solve puzzles. All right, so that's it then probably for today. Tomorrow I will be most probably commenting or doing something during the day, and tomorrow evening Georgi and me, we will be here with a different topic. Let's see what we're going to show tomorrow. Maybe some endgames, maybe some positional chess, or maybe more of this kind of, let's say, positions for the starting level, but the starting level is the most important one. Alright, so thank you all for watching. I hope you like that. Please subscribe in case you like the content. You can take a look. We have already a couple of videos with different content. Georgi, last words for today?
It was fun. A lot of people tuned in as expected, actually, and I really wish they would be trying to give the solutions almost on spot whenever you check it, so we can have more interactive live streams. But overall, very good one. Thank you everyone for being with us, and we will meet tomorrow.
Thank you.